Colossians 4 verse 1 to 18 through the Bible. Chapter 4, Part 1. Theme: Fellowship of Believers is hearty. We are in the section of this epistle which is dealing with holiness on the job, at the place of employment. Chapter 3 concluded with exhortations to servants or to employees. Chapter 4 will continue with exhortations to masters or to employers. Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that ye also have a master in heaven. Colossians 4 verse 1. Masters. Paul has something to say not only to the servant, but also to the masters, to the bosses. Equal means not to level down, but to level up. The master is to do right by his servant. Knowing that ye also have a master in heaven. The master will stand before Christ someday. Every Christian employer, as well as employee, will stand before God. This does put the gospel in shoe leather, does it not? It gets right down where the rubber meets the road. Or, in this case, it gets right down where your foot is walking in the factory or in the office. Whatever you're doing, you are to do it unto the Lord, because you are going to answer to Him if you are His child. Now the next few verses present three more areas of Christian conduct which are important. They are prayer, our public walk, and speech. Continue in prayer, and watch in the same with thanksgiving. Colossians 4 verse 2. These two words go together, pray and watch. They are very important. They remind us of the experience of Nehemiah. When the enemy tried to stop him from rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, he didn't just throw in the towel and cry out that he couldn't do the job. Nor did he simply say, well, we'll make it a matter of prayer, and then go on as he had been. No, this is what Nehemiah said. Nevertheless we made our prayer unto our God, and set a watch against them day and night, because of them. Nehemiah 4 verse 9. This is what Paul tells us here, watch and pray. An old pastor in Georgia used to make this statement. When a farmer prays for a corn crop, God expects him to say amen with a hoe. If you're praying about a certain matter, get busy with it. I'm afraid we hear a lot of pious nonsense about prayer. I received a letter from a preacher who has cancer. He said, I've been to Mayo Clinic. They found that I have cancer, and they recommend an operation. But I have come home and decided that I would do like you did. I will just trust the Lord. I sat down and wrote him a letter in a hurry. I said, Brother, I did trust the Lord, but that wasn't all that I did. I went to whom I think is the finest cancer specialist out here on the West Coast. My case was brought up before the UCLA Medical Clinic and was discussed there. They recommended the best thing that medical science knew to do. I have had 2 operations for cancer. My Christian brother, if you want to be an intelligent Christian, and I think you are, then you go back to Mayo Clinic as quickly as you can and tell them to operate if that is what they think is best. Then you trust the Lord, and He will bring you through it. That is what I did. Watch and pray. Be on the job. This is so practical. With thanksgiving. Be sure and thank God always, because He is going to hear and answer your prayer. Maybe it won't be the answer you wanted, but He will answer. This is like breathing. Inhale by prayer, exhale by thanksgiving. With all praying also for us, that God would open unto us a door of utterance, to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in bonds, that I may make it manifest, as I ought to speak. Colossians 4 verses 3 and 4. With all praying also for us, Paul says, don't forget to pray for us. My friend, you can't help Paul any longer by praying for him, but you can help your pastor and other Christian ministries. That God would open unto us a door of utterance, to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in bonds. Paul was in prison when he wrote this. He wanted to be released and go out through an open door that he might preach the gospel. I consider every aspect of my ministry to be a door, and I ask God to keep the doors open. He has promised that He would. This is the verse that I have chosen for my ministry. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. Revelation 3 verse 8. He has set a lot of open doors before me, and I ask Him to open even more doors. Walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time. Colossians 4 verse 5. Walk in wisdom. The child of God has a responsibility before the world today. Don't be foolish as a child of God. We hear so much pious nonsense in our day. There are those who said the Lord would return by 1980. I don't know where they got such information. There were probably a lot of embarrassed folk with red faces in 1980. Christians have no right to make such statements before an unsaved world. Nor should we say we are trusting the Lord when our actions show that we really are not trusting Him. We should not do foolish things before the world. A woman in Southern California wrote me a letter and rebuked me for going to the doctor for treatment of my cancer. She said that was not trusting the Lord. She wrote, "I have cancer and I am trusting the Lord. I don't go to the doctor. They buried her not long ago. She died of her cancer." I'm afraid at times we are guilty of causing our neighbors to smile and say, "This Christianity is a foolish sort of thing." We need to learn to walk in wisdom toward them that are without. Redeeming the time. Buy up your opportunities. When you see an opportunity, pray that the Lord will lead you. Don't force yourself on people. Just pray and ask the Lord to open the door, and He will open it. I wish I had space to tell you how many times this has happened in my life and in the lives of others. Let Him open the door before you make the mistake of putting your foot in your mouth. I knocked on many doors when I was a pastor, and I often stepped in and put my foot in my mouth the very first thing. Since then I have learned to do a lot more praying before I walk in. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man. Colossians 4 verse 6. Some people think this verse says, "Let your speech be salt," and they really sting you with their little sarcastic remarks. But what it says is, "Always with grace, seasoned with salt." A child of God should have a conversation that deters evil. It should withhold evil rather than promote it. I think it also means that a Christian should not be boring. We should be enthusiastic, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man.